Hey guys, and welcome back. In today's acrylic impressionist painting tutorial, I'm going to show you how to paint an easy acrylic landscape painting for beginners by using a palette knife. This landscape will have beautiful impressionist flowers, some trees, clouds, all your basics when it comes to a simple landscape painting. For this painting, we will be using only primary colors and white. Sometimes limiting yourself to a limited color palette is not only challenging but also allows you to explore great color mixing techniques and can be a really good learning experience. We also will be using a palette knife for mostly the entire painting. This would really help give you that loose impressionist style painting if that is something you've wanted to pick up on. Really quick, before we begin, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Feel free to leave your comments below on your thoughts or recommendations on what I can do next. That would be most helpful. Let's begin with tinting the canvas with an orangey brown. Starting a canvas with a blank white surface can be quite intimidating, and the contrast between fresh pigments and white is quite drastic. So setting a mid-tone layer to begin with eases off the starting process. This is a very light wash, so applying a thin layer will be just fine. The second part of prepping is roughly outlining your composition. Using that same brush, create a dark undertone and simply outline the shapes of where you want things to go. I am now creating a darker tone to the foreground because remember, as things get closer, it tends to be darker shades as compared to things in the middle and then the background. Alright, now moving on to the sky, I am starting with a light blue. We will now be using the palette knife for almost the entire painting. Just scrape the knife gently across the canvas and do not be afraid of overlapping those colors on your outline shapes. Those are just there for placement. Usually your clouds, and also including all objects and shapes, to be honest, will always have three different tones. So you have your dark tones, your mid-tones, and then your very light tones. So I am first laying out my dark tones, which is like a very muted beige color, and then I will add my mid-tone on top of that. We will come back to the very light tones in a bit. Okay, so now I am working on the hill in the middle ground by using a light muted forest green color. Moving on to the foreground, I am laying out a light olive green in the back, and then I will work my way with a darker green in the front. Also, feel free to show some of these orange specks coming through. It always adds an interesting layer and also gives the viewer a good understanding of all the build-up layers you went through to make this. Also, an important tip is to keep moving your palette knife in different directions to keep the painting overall more interesting and not so flat. It is just like when you use a paintbrush, you make sure that you have different brush strokes, so just apply that same technique when you use a palette knife. So moving it left, right, up and down are all really good variations. Working our way towards the trees and bushes, I am going to first set the dark tones. You know how when you look at a tree and you see all these dark specks coming through? That is what this layer is doing. Do not worry too much about details here. I'm just simply blocking in the shapes. We will be adding a lot more layers on top of this. Add some of the dark tones in the foreground hill as well. As I have mentioned before, painting is all about building layers, right? So I am now adding different greens on top of this to add more dimension. As long as you are aware of moving your palette knife in different directions, you will notice that it becomes quite easy to paint with it. The only con with painting with the palette knife is that you do not really have much control, but at the same time, that can be a pro to some people as well, especially when you are painting more loose impressionist style pieces, where it isn't really about the details to begin with, but simply the impression of things. And that is one of the main reasons I love painting with the palette knife. I'm just bringing in some of those greens that I have in the back hill to the front to tie them all together. So before you paint, or as you're painting in the early stages, it is always good to establish where you want your sunlight to come from. So in this case, I want my light to come from the right. So I will be adding in my highlights mainly to the right side of the trees while building up on the darks towards the left. Okay, so now let's add some flowers to this field to bring in that spring, summer vibe. When I paint, I somehow always imagine myself in that painting, and especially now with current situations and us not being able to be outdoors as much, I am finding myself leaning on painting more landscapes recently because it genuinely does make me happy. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you immerse yourself in the scene that you are painting, because I have always been that way. It is a really good outlet as well, especially now with things happening around the world. I think it is so good to just let go, relax, and imagine yourselves in dreamy locations. And the best part is you can literally make it exactly how you want it to be. So yeah, if you are like struggling right now with just anxiety or stress, or I would recommend just getting out your paints. Just paint something. Just paint like things that make you happy and make you feel good. So as you can see, I am adding little impressions of purplish blue flowers across the field by simply dabbing your knife lightly. It is amazing how many different colors you can get by just using your primary colors. It always amazes me, and also it shows you that you don't need that many different colors to paint a beautiful scene. I started out with yellow, red, blue and white, and I have now created so many different tones of greens, pinks, orange, violet, you know, it really is endless. I decided I wanted to add a little pathway across the hill just to break that foreground a little bit. I'm adding some yellow-orange flowers as well because these colors are complementary to the purplish blue colors that I have going on, so I thought that would make a good addition. Keep that color wheel in the back of your head, or always have that as a reference somewhere around you, so that you are aware of what colors look good together and what complement each other and so forth. Okay, now moving on to the final stage, which are the highlights and the details. I am now using white with just a tiny tinge of yellow just to warm it up slightly, and I'm using it in places where I think it can enhance the painting. So using the side of your knife, you can make vertical strokes to the trees to give it an impression of branches, and also do that to the foreground to give your flowers more movement. And that is it, guys. We have a finished painting. Hope you all enjoyed this simple impressionist landscape. Please do not forget to subscribe if you want regular art videos, and also hit that notification bell so that you know when I upload. I am planning on doing a giveaway when I hit 1,000 subscribers, which is so exciting. So yeah, make sure you subscribe so that you do not miss it. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you next week. Bye guys.